good to have all of you here. It's good to have the people who are watching on our videos. So I'm going to say hi to John. I almost called him Reverend John. Hi to John in LA and Mark and Gabriel in New York City. And yeah. And I got this wonderful, I guess I did this wrong. I don't like codes, even though I make them up. I got this wonderful email, and I just want to share it with all of you. This came from one of our people that watch this in the ethers, you know, that wonderful cyberspace that we all live in. It used to be that we lived and moved and had our being in God, but now it's we lived and moved and have our being in cyberspace. So anyway, this woman was saying that the Thrive videos really work for her, and she's just now getting what feeling's all about. And so I just say that for you because if you come here and you kind of resonate with what was happening, you know something was important, but you don't quite get it, you can watch us later. We have a YouTube channel. Just get on YouTube, CSLseattle, and start watching, and you get to have the whole, you could get the whole message over again, and sometimes it's even more important or more powerful for you. Two things, since I'm on my cell phone anyway, just a reminder to perhaps you might want to sign in. If you're on Facebook, let people know where you are. I just sent a message that we have great music today, and we do have great music today. And the other thing is that if after this service is over, this resonates with you, if this seems to be what you're already thinking, what you're already feeling, what you already believe, this might be your place. This might be your spiritual place. So if that's true, I invite you to fill out a connection card. It looks like this. It will be sometimes in the seat backs in front of you, but always in the offering basket as it goes by later. So fill it out, return it to myself or anyone with a name tag, and we'll make sure that you get on our virtual family list. We'd love to have that. And the last thing is, we're going to walk our talk. Our talk is that everyone is beloved by God. Everyone. There is no special person who was born that was better than anyone else. Now, they may have heard and spent more time listening to the divine than some of us are doing because we're a little busy. But God, the universe, spirit, still loves all creation, and that's each and every one of us. So if you're having a birthday, we should honor you. So to do that, you need to raise your hand or stand up, and we have birthdays. Oh, lots of birthdays over here too. Happy birthday, Sylvia. More birthdays over there. Thank you. I'm so grateful you could be with us. Wonderful. So let's just be appreciative of this day. I am so blessed. We're so blessed. We may have already woke up and we're not putting our head to rest yet, but we are so blessed. So let's just move into that awareness. Be conscious of that. So I invite us to focus on that which we can be grateful for. During this holy time of turning our attention to Thanksgiving, let us be grateful. And let us sit in the silence just a moment. And then Beverly will shift us just a bit with a beautiful song, opening up the way for Reverend Harold to give us a gorgeous, lovely opening prayer.
So I invite you right here and now to take this moment and to take a nice deep breath, feeling your feet on the floor. And just become present to this moment. There's nothing that needs to be done. I invite you to recognize that place of the divine that lives within, that lives breathes and has its very being within each and every one of us. And during this month where we celebrate gratitude, let us allow ourselves to just take this moment, a moment to feel grateful for something already in our lives. I am grateful for my family. I am grateful for each and every person here. I am grateful. Why? Because it is the divine expressed in form. And so as I open this service, I recognize with deep gratitude for the love that is expressed through each and every one of the Center for Spiritual Living Celebration Choir. I am grateful for what is to come with the words that Reverend Dr. Kathianne expressed to each and every one of us, whether here or online. I am grateful that you are here expressing the love of God fully, completely, just where you are. Meister Eckhart said it best. If all I said was gratitude, that prayer would be enough. And so I open this time together, recognizing the divine within myself, within everyone, within everything. And let us say within our own heart of hearts, and so it is.
I'm going to introduce our power speaker in just a moment. But before I do that, I would like to involve you in an experiment. Is that okay? Let's experiment. I'll tell you a little bit more about the background of that. But before I get started, before we go any farther, I want to define something for you. I want to define my idea of heaven. Heaven, for me, is to be happy, joyful, peaceful, content, satisfied, and fulfilled. Now, when I'm there, I'm in heaven. So, on your program, somewhere on the front, because you're going to take notes later, somewhere on the front, on a scale of 1 to 10, how in heaven are you right now? If you're happy but not content, if you're peaceful but not satisfied, then you'd be about a 5. If you don't have any of those, you're a 0. And if you are filled up to just like, actually, I should actually see stars coming out of your head. But if you're all the way there, then you're a 10. All right? So 1 to 10, how much in heaven are you? Heaven, and my definition of heaven, you're happy, joyful, peaceful, content, satisfied, and fulfilled. Now, I realize we're not in Disneyland, but still, this could be the happiest place on earth. Hopefully, by the end of this service. Right now, write your number, 1 to 10, how in heaven are you? That's done? Great. So I can introduce to you our power speaker for the day. Yay! Mia Woodard. What up?
So I'm so excited to power talk with you guys today. My talk is on connection and community, which we're so good at here, and I'm so excited about that because 2 years ago, next month, I came here to make CSL my spiritual home, and it has been so fulfilling, so amazingly fulfilling even in these couple of years. I've gotten so much out of it. One, I've taken pretty much all the classes up until practitioner training, done all the workshops, all the guest speakers coming through, pretty much anything, all the retreats, everything. I did coming of age last year and volunteering. The most exciting thing I've just gotten involved with is the youth and family ministries. I've gotten to work with these amazing teens who are actually in the house. So I want to give a shout out to you. I love you guys. I love you guys. So they are the most extraordinary young adults you'll ever meet, and I love you. So I want to let you know that because you're in here. And also, so with all the volunteering and the classes I've taken, the Better Business Breakfast, as you can probably tell, I have a real hard time joining in. So you can imagine that this here being fed at church was so amazing, but I wasn't getting that outside of church. Now I was showing up here with all those classes and things about 5 days a week, so I was getting really filled up, but I wasn't getting it elsewhere, and I wasn't getting it in, say, in the same friends group. So I really wanted to be friends with all of you, like all of you. I want to love you. I'm gonna hug you right now. So I really wanted to make more friends, but take you out in the world with me. And I was really excited when I was approached to expand and help develop Let's Go CSL. I don't know if you know what Let's Go CSL is. It's our community meetup. Right now it has over 300 members, and we've done in the last year over 40 really awesome events. There's some pictures. Oh, and there I am. Look at that. So we've done Snoqualmie Falls, we've done things like Ugly Sweater Run, we've gone to movies, we've done coffee meetups, walks around Green Lake, really fun stuff. What was it, Shaun of the Dead, and then we dressed up like Santa Claus and went downtown. Wait, no, that was just me. Never mind. Anyway, so we do really great stuff. And the most recent thing we did was the Rafe concert for Day of the Dead. 20 of us got together and went out for Thai food, and then came back to church and partied down, danced the night away for Halloween. That was really awesome. I got to spend Halloween with you folks, which was amazing. I was so excited. So I was getting not only fed here at church, but I'm starting to get fed outside of church. And it's such a blessing to me that I'm wanting to share it with you, that if you haven't gone on Let's Go and come and played with us, you should, because it's the holidays and you can make new friends. Maybe come out and do a tree lighting ceremony or caroling, or I suggested bowling, but go-karting's good too. If you guys want to go, I really want to go, so come play with me. Come, let's do some really fun holiday stuff, like zoo lights. Anybody want to do zoo lights? Zoo lights, right? So I'll be at the table outside after service. If anybody's got any questions about Let's Go, if anybody wants to know how to sign up, because what I want for you is what I got. I am so filled up and so grateful that this community not only offers things here at church, but for us to go out and play together and take all this good energy that we're learning about even today and applying it out in the world in our relationships with each other. I've been so blessed, and I'm so grateful for all of you, and it has really, really changed my life. Thank you. I love you.
You know, first service, I had that experience of having a revelation as I spoke. And what I was saying right after listening to Mia is that there was a time in my life when I wanted to go do things, but I didn't really have anybody to do it with, and I wish I'd had this sort of experience. So then she, you know, when I think about going to zoo lights, would my husband want to go to zoo lights? Probably not. I could still go. Yay. There's a few things that she mentioned first service that he would just not. Ugly sweater run. There are no ugly sweaters. Just telling you. But anyway, so it sounds like fun. Anyway, I just want to say that. So for those of you that might be newer to the Center for Spiritual Living, we teach techniques for living the best life that we can live. Whereas some traditions teach you to get to heaven, we try to teach techniques so that you can experience heaven. So heaven is not something that we go to later. Heaven is something that can be revealed now. The Gospel according to Thomas said, if you could really see, you'd see that all of heaven is laid out before you. But I don't know about you. Sometimes I can experience it, sometimes I can't. And what I know is that it's all about my attitude. So today we're going to talk about attitude. Your attitude shifts you. In fact, actually, I'm just going to give you a little mini sermon that happened to me. for me, I guess, right after first service, someone was putting down the same number you're putting down. He put down a number. He said, well, if I thought about this, it was this. And if I thought about this, it was this. And if I thought about this, it was this. And I thought, oh my goodness, look at all the blessings I have. It was that number. But if I thought, you know what, I really haven't had such a good day, I don't feel that well, then it's that number. Do you see? It's all attitude. He was going up and down on the scale, and he was watching himself go like this second by second, probably nanosecond by nanosecond. We're not done with that, though. Keep paying attention to that number. You have it around. Because my joy would be for you to understand that you can shift that number at any time. That you can decide and have an attitude that will put you in a place where you are happier, more peaceful, more content, more satisfied, and fulfilled, and you don't have to go to Disneyland, the happiest place on earth to go there. Actually, how many of you have gone to Disneyland and then complained about the lines? I mean, it's like, there's something with everything, isn't there? How many of you have gone on great vacations and found that thing that was wrong with it? We can do that. We can. So outer circumstances can certainly help, but they can't bring us heaven. This is an internal job. It's about us. So I am just happy as heck. My number's going up just as I speak. Anyway, so how to cultivate this attitude? How do we cultivate an attitude that will put us more into a heavenly state of mind? I'm going to start with a quote from Zoroaster, and so if you haven't heard of Zoroaster a lot, he started the religion Zoroastrianism, which you probably haven't heard of either. It's sort of a diminishing religion, but at one time it was very influential in the Middle East. But it was an ancient religion. It still influenced a lot of things. It's influenced Judaism, and it's been a strong influence on Greek philosophy. So there's things that are going on that it still influences our ideas in good and bad and the nature of God and monotheism and things like that. But Zoroaster said something I find helpful. This was his quote: taking the first step with good thought, and the second with good word, and the third with good deed, I enter paradise. So he's not saying I enter paradise when I'm dying, because it is about his thought, his word, and his deed, and he enters into that, what I would call a heavenly state. This is the state I want to be in. I want to be in a place where I'm happier and more peaceful and more content. And so let's look at this formula. Let's start with good thought. And before I do that, I want to talk about bad thought. Let's talk about bad thought. Let's just get the bad thoughts out of the way. Because you can good thought all over the place, but if you don't catch yourself in the bad thought, then the bad thought really wins. Have you noticed that? It sort of seeps through. So let's just talk about the 3 C's. The 3 C's that we really don't need to be doing: comparing, complaining, and criticizing. We really don't need to be comparing, complaining, and criticizing. Comparisons will get you nowhere, because if you compare yourself to another and you think you're better, it makes you superior, does superiority actually feel peaceful? No, it doesn't really contribute. And if you're going to be comparing, you'll always find somebody that's better. There will always be someone that's better at something than you are. So comparing is a lose, 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 lose. And if you compare yourself to yourself, it's a lose, lose. So if you can say, for instance, I'll tell you what happened to me recently. I drove a lot this last weekend. And one day I was driving into Seattle, and it was raining, and so I had to be really focused, and I was doing mantras, and I think it was about the focus and the mantras and paying attention, and then there was fog on the freeway, and I was in heaven. It was just me, and all of it was glorious. It was great. Okay, next day. Same freeway. Same music, same mantra. Not the same effect. And I was wondering, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I should turn the radio up. So if I compare my experience day to day, it's always going to be different. So I could actually make myself so wrong after being so right that it negated being right. Does that make sense? So if we don't want to compare, what do? We appreciate. Because there's always something to appreciate. How many of you have had luminous experiences of the divine, where you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt there was something greater than yourself? Raise your hand. There is something. You couldn't define it. And have you noticed it's slipperier than butter? So one day I have a luminous experience, the next day I don't. I have an opportunity to compare and therefore make myself feel bad, or I could appreciate that I'd had it. It feels better to appreciate. Imagine appreciating those luminous experiences you've had. And that feels good, doesn't it? The other thing that we're not supposed to do, we're not supposed to do, you can do anything you want, but if you want to get to heaven, you're not going to get there complaining. Yeah, I'm sorry. Who has complained themselves into a heavenly state? I want to see a light. How many of you, by complaining, have gone to this wonderful sense of peacefulness? So I'm not saying don't do it. God doesn't care. I'm just saying if you want heaven, don't complain. When we take classes, when I take people on retreats, when we do retreats here at the church or at Rainbow Lodge, the first rule is no complaining. We were not complaining before it became popular to not complain. Before a book was written, before people got those little wristbands, don't complain. We were not complaining. We don't complain. It's really nice. But if you're not going to complain, what do you do? No. Although appreciation, we get there. Appreciation is sort of an inner experience. Now, kind of like comparisons. Comparisons are something that you do in your head, right? Appreciation is something you do in your head. Complaining is something that you share. Isn't it true? Don't you share your complaints? Don't you want to let people know that they really shouldn't be happy with this setting? How many of you have gone someplace and people are way too happy, so you show them what's wrong? Because they're idiots. Anyway. Complaining is something that we share with one another, and there really should be protection. Let's just talk. Anyway, that was an R-rated joke. What's the opposite of complaining? Something that you express, which is gratitude. Expressing gratitude. You're either complaining or you're expressing gratitude. I don't know how I do it. I think it's because I'm addicted to studies. And there's a study of a cross-section of people who came into an environment, a controlled environment. They were given a test. And in that test, they were evaluated by a group of people to see how happy they were. Then they were asked who they were grateful to, who in their life made a big difference in their life, and they wrote a name, and then they wrote what that person had done for them. Then they were given another test, which also evaluated how happy they were. And their happiness went up anywhere between 4 and 19%. How they measure that stuff, I don't know. That's why people go to college, I'm sure. But their happiness level, everyone's happiness level went up, anywhere between 4 and 19%. Isn't that interesting? Just by thinking about and writing about who they were grateful to. Gratitude is an expression. Now here's the added part. Well, I won't tell you that. I'm going to be like Paul Harvey. There's the rest of the story. Before I get into the rest of that story, I want to move into the opposite of criticism. The opposite of criticism. Oh, and we know what criticism is, don't we? It's really, criticism is so great. It's when you know how things should be. And don't we? I mean, really, don't we? If we were going to be totally truthful, if this was like really Honestville, you know how things should be. Not everything, but some things you really know, right? It's called righteous judgment. Right judgment, which is really wrong. So, if we're not going to be criticizing, what must we do? We must praise. The opposite of criticism is praise. So I want to tell you a true story. This is not a study, although she was studying things and she was proving things to herself. Back to this whole thing of you writing a number down and I want you to experiment. The founder of the Center for Spiritual Living philosophy and denomination called this philosophy and denomination. Well, he called the philosophy the science of mind, and he called the denomination the religious science. At the turn of the last century, that was popular. It was popular because people were coming into more of a scientific mode. And he and others at that time thought that we should be able to prove our religious convictions and prove what had been promised in holy books and prove that God was real and prove that the universe was for us. Then prove that there was a spirit and a principle of goodness who wanted to act on our behalf. And so therefore science, religious science, like you should be able to prove your faith and what you believe in. So I kind of like that. In fact, he actually said, I would much rather people just prove these teachings than know a whole lot of stuff. So that's why you wrote a number down, because I want you to prove something in a bit. But let's go back to what I want to talk about now, which is praise. There was a woman in our church who started coming as soon as we moved to this property. So we hadn't built this building yet. And we moved here in 92, so she probably started coming in 92. Her name was Mo Manley. Hello, Mo, because she sometimes watches. She's not usually here on Sunday because she's out riding her bicycle. She rides with a lot of bike clubs, especially a bike club for MS. Now, why does she ride for a bike club for MS? When she got here in 92, she had a friend lead her in. She had a cane. She could barely see, and she could barely walk because she had just been diagnosed the months before with MS. Now, MS is not a pleasant disease for anyone, but it was really difficult for her because it really hampered how she saw herself and how her life was supposed to unfold, because she was on the U.S. Olympics team for the bicycling. U.S. Olympic team, bicyclist. She found out she had MS when her vision just went one day in the middle of a ride. So she was also recovering from falling down a hill. But she took Beyond Limits, it was called Foundations then. She took Foundations, she took spiritual practice, she took self-mastery, she took our classes, and she started to apply them. And what she realized when she started to apply them, and what we are saying is that there's a good for us and we ought to have it, she realized that most people, including herself, with any disease, don't focus on what's good. They focus on what's wrong. And so she also started to get help with the MS Society in Washington, and they put her in groups, and they were supposed to support each other. But what she said they did was they would talk about what body function was no longer functioning, and then what to expect next. What's not working? What do I expect next? What's not working? What do I expect next? And having been here, she said, this is not the way we should be doing things. So she started focusing on what was functioning. What part of her body still worked well? And she praised it. What part of her body still worked well? And she praised it. She started not only walking, her eyesight recovered, but most times when you see her, you would never know she had a disease, and she's had it now for 23 to 4 years. She does bicycle. She's on a mini bike. She in mini bike clubs, and one of them is preparing for rides that she does for MS. She became a part of the MS Society in Washington, and said, we're doing these groups all wrong. These are talking about how to cope instead of how to thrive. So she took our training on empowerment groups and taught that society how to have groups that empower each other to do well instead of wait for the next thing. 23 years later, and she rides. Now, as she would say, she's not well every day. There are good days and bad days, but there's many more good days than bad days. And the bad days don't stop her from continuing on what she wants to do and who she wants to be. Praise. When we find that there's something to complain about, you know that right next to it there's something to praise. In the midst of the complaint, there's an opportunity to praise. So we have right thought, or what Zoroaster would call good thought. The next one is good word. Boy, words are powerful, and we all know that. And they create our environments. And sometimes we can be in a very toxic environment, and if you have been in a toxic environment, you know that it's often created by words. Toxic environments are created by what people are talking about. And sometimes it's so toxic that we actually start to pollute ourselves. We get, it just becomes the way people talk, and we start to talk that way. After first service, my talks change after first service because people come up to me and say, this is what's happening to me, and then I get to use their case studies instead of my own that I use first service that we could never put on a video. Anyway, so someone said, it was really powerful for me because I work in a toxic work environment, and I know I contribute to it. Because that's the way we talk there. It's just the way we talk. Now, Emma Curtis Hopkins has a quote that I like to use when anybody comes up to me and says, you should do this. They don't anymore. It's on Scientific Christian Mental Practice, page 110 at the bottom of the page, so you can find it yourself. But she says, if any of you are bothered by something, you may be most assured it's yours to deal with. Even with prayer. Don Beatty got that little extra part of the sentence. He called it out in class. Thank you, Don. Because I like just saying, Emma says just do it. But it does. So if you are in a toxic environment, it's yours to shift. You get to be the one. You get to be the one to talk about what's good. How can I say this? Not at this church, because it doesn't happen at this church, but there is an environment that I can get in that the people talk about what's wrong. And if I acquiesce to that, even not saying anything, it continues on, and I'm the one that suffers. So what I've noticed is they talk about what's wrong, and I talk about what's right. And they talk about what's wrong, and I talk about what's right. And pretty soon, they just stop. Because I'm always seeing what's right. They don't want to hear about it, so they're quiet. And I don't mean that to be funny, because we know how that works. It's just human nature. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just human nature. So back to that study I was talking to you about. This is Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. When they were doing the gratitude study, what they noticed is that happiness really skyrocketed when the people, after they wrote who they were appreciative of or who they were grateful to, and they wrote down why they were grateful, they gave them a phone and they had the person call up the person they were grateful to and express the gratitude. When expressed, when it became a word, the gratitude really skyrocketed. So you can think it, you can write it down, but boy, when you speak it, oh, wow. Huge difference. Now, the next part of this formula for entering paradise is good deed. And this is very important because there's studies on this also. I'm going to give you the study on this. But before I go there, I want to acknowledge that we all succumb to moods. How many of you know you've had a mood? A mood. You're just in a mood. Now, I call it a mood because it's nobody's fault. Nothing happened. How many of you woke up, nothing happened, and you're in a mood? And it's not just women. Come on, fess up. Who's had moods? You don't even know why. And you could explore it, but who cares? It's just a mood. Moods happen. The problem is, you can't be in a bad mood and be in heaven at the same time. So I want to give you a formula for getting out of a bad mood. That formula it's very simple. Do something for someone. If you do something for someone, you will get out of your bad mood. Studies on it. My experience. But let's just talk about a case study. College students were divided into two groups, and they were each given the same amount of money. One group was told to go out and buy something for themselves. The other group was told to go out and buy something for someone else. So just do something, buy something, use this money for someone else. Guess who was happier at the end of the study? The ones that did it for someone else. I mean, they've been able to monitor the endorphins. It's called helper's high. Really, there's a term for it. When you do something for someone else, you feel better. It's biological. It has to be. It is not the survival of the fittest. They've proven that to be wrong. It's the survival of the most cooperative. Really? What has kept us together? How could we still be alive? I couldn't survive. I don't have fur. I'm not cold-blooded. I can't hibernate. These nails, although very nice, would break in conflict. Really? On our own, and we can't live on our own. A single person put out into the wilderness, some might survive, but most wouldn't. We survive through cooperation, and so it's hardwired into our own brain to want to do that. There's a reward for doing good things to other people. It's biological, and if it's biological, it's divine. As far as I'm concerned, that's God's way of loving us so that we could love one another and therefore care for one another. So, let's continue with this experiment. Oh, by the way, I'm going to have some music. Let's continue with this experiment. You still have your piece of paper? All right. Let's just take a deep breath. Be grateful you have a chair. I've been to so many places, gorgeous places, palaces. I'm thinking of the palaces in India. And everyone except perhaps the Maharishi and the Maharishi would be sitting on a floor. I'm so grateful for chairs. I'm grateful that we have a heating cooling system. I'm grateful for a sound system. I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that I can be here. I'm grateful that, just think of the things you're grateful for. Just think of those things. As Paul would say, think on these things. Now think of someone that you're thankful for, that you have a deep appreciation for, that you are grateful to. Think of that person, and on the bottom part of your program, write their name. And now write a sentence or two describing why you're so grateful to them. What came up for me this morning is I would write, I'm grateful to my papa. And then I know I would say, oh, Papa, thank you for teaching me about the cycle of life and that we must honor everything that's on the earth so that the earth can care for us. Thank you, Papa, for teaching me before it became popular that we must not misuse the land we were given. Thank you, Papa, for teaching me that everything has a soul. Who are you grateful to, and what would you say to them? Write that down. And now silently imagine them in front of you. And silently in your heart of hearts, just simply express your gratitude. And now, on the same piece of paper, write the number that expresses how much in heaven you are. How happy and peaceful and content and satisfied are you right now? Give it a number between 1 and 10 and put it on the piece of paper. And notice if it went up. And if it went up, keep doing this. If it didn't go up, don't experiment with gratitude ever again. A secondary challenge is to call them or write them, send them a card, and let the person know what you have been thinking. if they are deceased, like my grandfather is, then know that when you connect with them and tell them something, since life is eternal, they know it at some level. No matter where they are in the big scheme of things, the love intelligence of the universe will deliver the message. And I was thinking about this. Wouldn't family gatherings become richer if we started the dinner off with, "Dear Cousin May, I am so grateful to you because when I'm around you, this happens." If you went around the table, think of how full everybody would be, even before they began eating. Isn't that a lovely way to do grace? So if any of you do this, if you do express your gratitude to someone else and you deliver the message, then see where the number goes and let me know how that goes. And so I love and I bless this time together. For I know that we have come here. We have been called here by something deep and powerful. Something deep is calling to something deep. Something that is greater than each and every one of us and beyond each and every one of us, and yet a part of each and every one of us, is calling us to know life at a new level, in a new way. I am so grateful for this opportunity for all of us to move step by step into paradise with our good thought, our good word, our good deed. Thank you, God. Thank you for this morning and the blessings that are being poured upon everyone here. And so it is.
Good morning, everyone. Well, right now, Michael and I get the opportunity to practice what Kathianne was just talking about and to express our appreciation and gratitude for everyone who pledged their support for 2015 in the service last Sunday, including those who decided to increase their pledge. So together, last Sunday, you pledged almost $400,000, which puts us at just under 1.6 million, so we're closing in on our goal of $2 million for the campaign.
So if you didn't have an opportunity to participate last week, or if you haven't had an opportunity...
I heard there was something about a football game.
Okay. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, I really encourage you to do that. You can join us at the table right outside the doorway when the service is over. You can go online to our website and hit the donate button, and it takes you directly there. This is for everyone to participate in because this is all about us, all about family and people helping people. So thank you so much. Again, thank you to where we are.
Yoo-hoo! Thank you. And I am so grateful that Michael has left Seattle many times, but returned many times. Yay! So thank you, Michael and Rod, and thanks. It's so good to have you back and here and here. So let's just take a deep breath. My practitioner has told me that in the process of opening up to love, the alpha, the beginning of that, is to do forgiveness work. To forgive. Forgive others, forgive yourself, forgive God, forgive circumstances. And the omega, the end point, is that you're grateful for everything. So when we express gratitude, we're really expressing love. And love lets us be grateful. So I ask you to be grateful for the gift that you're giving. Grateful that you can, grateful that you will, grateful that we'll receive it, grateful that it helps this community and our programs for just almost everything that's going on. There's so many programs. We help so many people with our gift. Be grateful for that. And what this church receives is the love and the support. And I'm grateful. And I bless each gift and each giver. I bless each person here. I bless us collectively and individually. What that means is I recognize our goodness, your goodness, our collective goodness. I recognize it. I proclaim it. I raise it high. Thank you, God. And so it is.